He used the verb to fix to. If I am locked up, we will discuss the true functions. I am human, but that's not the most important thing. These are side effects. These are consequences. There was a story, and then there was a tree. There was never any story. There were never any trees. See if you can spot the poem that this travesties. Jibber jabber overheard on a walkie-talkie. 'Twas massless, and the elementary scalar particles did hide, turn, and vanish, turn, in the widening gyre of experiments at Fermilab and CERN. All Higgsy were the anticipations of theoretical physicists, and the electroweak symmetry outgauge. Beware the Higgs, my breaking papers, the mechanism that gives mass, the standard model that violates unitarity. Beware the non-zero vacuum expectation value, and shun the intrinsic angular momentum of a spinless quantum CP even antiparticle. Science makes for terrific sounds. Neutral fields of goldstone bosons giving way to a mass somewhere between 115 and 180 gigavolts over light speed to the second power. We take it as fact that nothing travels faster than light. That, quote, light travels faster than nothing, end quote, remains uncontroversial if non-trivial dark matter. In the current understanding of Renaissance England, for instance, vests are doublets, couplets are couplets, and certain species can be said to make for life. Probability can't be digital. Top quark condense it. Probability can't be screened in Technicolor. Frank Zappa took a nap and wrote a song today. Sometimes it's just water in the champagne glass. A wise man once told me, a wise man once said, to paraphrase another wiser man, all the facts are never in and everyone's a man. Colliding protons can remain intact, but still generate new particles. Ernie Lepore is a philosopher of mind, or cognitive science. Oh, Ernie Lepore, poetry needs you get up. Some flarfists hate poems like these because they're too flarfy. Some people make their living out of pinning other people to a scrawl. We've already been through quotation and all that mess. Now for something completely different, and so on. Okay, 21st century? It's okay, we're safe in here. I've double-checked the boundary conditions. The ambiguous flesh-colored figure across the street wipes its windows. The big red corkscrew outside the window jacks the light post up. You could translate every line of this poem except the fourth into Japanese. Contextualists, among others, tend to be awful predicates of sentences that wobble. Examine the difference between 1 and 2, assuming every word as rigid designator. 1. Examine Kant the worm over. 2. Examine the worm over Kant. It would be great to say poets reveal trivial acceptations, and I could if this poem was titled The Impoverishment of the Species. No discipline can have any sort of autonomy in this cage. There never was much push for unions among cryptozoologists, so none of this ever happened. Supposed, typography, vehicle, none of it. They are like reading e-books in a quiet mood. They are like wave packets and all that, somehow collapsing. There is nothing like deciding on a constitution for its beauty. There is everything like wanting a theory for its elegance. Even if we did sacrifice our innocence, heresy could not save us. This line articulates the meaning of the last line of every poem ever written. There are a couple poems that I'm going to read called the Goy translation. For those of you who know any Yiddish, you'll get that. The Goy translation. Benito and Dennis call themselves friends, but in reality they are cousins. Translations are trends in beliefs about language. Translations are something anyway. Benito calls Saul his brother. Saul punches Benito in the groin. When I kissed your bump last night, I noticed how ferrous it tasted. Saul, Benito, and Dennis all speak different languages. Saul, Benito, and Dennis have never met one another. If you want to make fire out here, you better learn to play fiddle. Intervention for a walking clitoris. I do not remember about 3 to 4 hours of last night. They say, I don't know who, that this is one sure sign I should stop. We'll have to see about that, but thanks for the lift. Icons are probably not found in the animal kingdom. I know this poem by heart, when the rain that rains has frozen, and we shall call it snow. I have taken the train out of here to have no means of proving the omission. I want to leave angry, because Shakespeare got it wrong, about the weather, I mean, and punctuation. I know this poem by heart. The rain rains, and the frozen rain has frozen, and the rain that freezes, freezes. All of this just passes time. All of this reflects time's passage. I know every poem by heart. None of this is rain. None of this freezes. None of this has a heart. The Goy translation. You and I shall sleep upon a bed of dying birds, your grandmother told me. Your grandmother died and left whom in charge? Your grandmother believes in getting old. She has 76 tattoos on her left tit and a huge one on her right ankle. Your grandmother's wooden leg is hollow. Thus, her values ring true. Once at our Christmas party when she was drunk and wore a lampshade on her head, I thought, it's very interesting your grandmother prefers to ride bareback, considering nobody voted. Most of your grandmother's aliases sound like fudge. Your grandmother literally banged too many sports writers to be taken seriously. I wonder what you call your grandmother when she isn't looking. Your grandmother has great orgasms, but only with hot teachers, with stumps. Oh, the melodious birthmarks! Oh, the separated flocks amid 1,000 flagrant potholes, in a state that flukes and garnishes. On this particular line, I performed in N+7, such that I feel as sad as a backstage manager with nothing to manage, a swain with the poorest sense of smell and the dirtiest crotch this side of the Ozarks. Everywhere is this side of the Ozarks. Oh, I am just abusing your grandmother's lack of self-esteem. She can come live with me and buy my lubricants. Tell me my password when I forget. And we shall sit upon the bleachers at the rodeo, our collars bound together with fine silk thread. On your graduation day, she told me, your grandmother, above the roar of the crowd, how your cymbals hang from the mortarboard like a sinker below the surface of the river. I do not condone that sort of behavior.